You're watching Offload. I'm Eva Kovacs and Rodney Bodnar today, talking to a number of Manitobans about their COVID-19 pandemic restriction experience. And our guest coming up is Jennifer Queen. You think about the various ways that the pandemic has affected businesses, and you think about the real estate market, right? Very social type of industry. You're constantly talking to people. You're bringing people into your home. You're going into other people's homes. And so you imagine with the restrictions, there would be a huge impact on that.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I keep seeing in the news or in articles that it's just booming right now, and you'd expect it wouldn't be.
Jennifer, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
So tell us a little bit about your experience and how things are going through this pandemic, and of course with the restrictions. I imagine you've gone through all kinds of phases as well as things have tightened and loosened. Tell us how it's been.
For sure. For sure. So initially, it was one of those moments where everybody's kind of looking to you for what to do now. Their home is on the market. Everything around us is shutting down. We don't know what's happening. And it was super unnerving for a while. I joked with my family that we were going to have to eat ramen noodles for a while just for dinner. And kind of for the first month there, it was quite quiet, to be honest. But then kind of mid-April, beginning or early May hit, and we all had to kind of just put our heads down and start working really, really hard because the market just kind of went insane after that with a ton of volume in terms of sales. I think that the Winnipeg Realtors released the stats for 2020, and our sold units was actually up 17% in 2020 over 2019. So I'm very unaware, to be honest, of much of what's been going on around me because I have just had my head down working pretty much since May of 2020. With the exception of having my third child in June.
Oh my goodness. Talk about just layering it on. Yeah, exactly. Congratulations. So what were some of the things that you had to figure out and you had to sort out as with your team to make sure that you were able to still let people see houses and see what they were in for if they were going to consider buying a certain home? I imagine there are all sorts of protocols and procedures that had to be put in place.
Absolutely. So initially it was kind of interesting because a lot of our job is going into other people's homes, really putting ourselves in close contact with other family or other households, right? And at that time it was hard to get any PPE. So it wasn't like hand sanitizer or masks or anything were readily visible or available. We were really focusing at that time on just hand washing and stuff. But then as time progressed, we were able to get our hands on some of that stuff. But initially, no, we were physically still meeting with people in their homes. Manitoba didn't actually have a mechanism in place that allowed us to have or use digital signatures on contracts at that point. We had to, like, our rules according to the Manitoba Securities Commission require that all of our contracts be in ink. So we were physically still meeting with people. They've since put into effect a temporary provision that allows for digital signatures like DocuSign and AuthentiSign. But then also there were a lot of travel restrictions, and we get a lot of clients coming into Manitoba from out of province, right? But they couldn't tour homes without either quarantining first, or at that point we actually started doing some virtual tours just via FaceTime with clients to show them houses, and some people were even buying houses sight unseen. So it was a very different time, that's for sure.
I was just going to ask, how did you adapt with possible new technology showing homes? Is there a big request for that from clients where they would like to see virtual reality opposed to going to the home first?
Yeah, so especially like we work with a lot of sellers too. So from our perspective, we want to make sure that people have properly looked through all the pictures of the home. And then of course, we've always done video of our homes, but we started doing these virtual 360 tours as well. So that, you know, those little circles you see on the ground, like on Google Maps, and you can physically walk through a property. Because yeah, we want to make sure that people know that the floor plan will work for them before touring the home. It's not like we want anybody coming through the home if it wouldn't work for them, right? So we started having to employ a lot of those digital marketing techniques.
So if I was a home buyer and
Hmm.
I contacted you and I wanted to see, a house on 123 Sesame Street, and I knew other clients potentially were looking at it. After you have a client in that home, do you have a protocol in place, or anybody come in that cleans the home or disinfects it? Like, how does that work? If I was concerned.
For sure. So what we have specifically been doing is we provide bins to our clients, and it's got the PPE equipment in it, and they put it physically outside of the front door of their home prior to a showing. So it has hand sanitizer, uh, gloves, and then masks. And then on the interior of the home, we provide wipes, like alcohol wipes, individually packaged, for people to wipe down any surface they touch. But then, of course, we do still encourage our homeowners to wipe things down too, because you never know. Some things might slip through the cracks.
Yeah, that's a big responsibility for sure. So was there anybody that you could turn to, or was there an organization that you could turn to that would sort of lay out that step-by-step plan that you should all be taking, or were you all as individual teams coming up with your own best strategy?
I think we all still have our own strategies. The Manitoba Real Estate Association does put out the guidelines, some basic guidelines. I think everybody probably takes it a little bit further too with providing PPE to their clients. But like there are restrictions on how many people can be present during a showing, even still. Like right now, the rule is only the person that's going to be on the title of the home, two people max with their realtor. So they've laid out rules such as that during that time, and then there was a period where open houses and still aren't completely banned, but are would be in bad taste, right? It's not something you really want to be hosting right now.
With the virtual technology that you're using, there are
Hmm.
obviously places that were doing that kind of thing initially. Do you think that this sped
Hmm.
up a lot of the agencies in Winnipeg to really jump on board and get that ready and start offering that?
Oh, absolutely. I would say that prior to this, it would be more of a rarity to see those virtual 360 tours on a listing. And since then, probably at least 50 to 60% of realtors are doing them now.
And so now, do you think that there are some good takeaways that you'll continue to employ? I imagine as things start to loosen and things change down the road, that these tools are probably still going to be really useful.
For sure. A lot of, especially I would say the digital signing component, like again, that's still a temporary order allowing us to get those digital signatures, but it has created a lot of efficiencies in our systems too to allow us to get those contracts signed from clients. It certainly has though eliminated a lot of the connection that you get to have with clients. So I think what we're learning more and more is as we move more toward a digital world that we still have to also make sure we're maintaining that client connection. And I think that's one thing that's really stuck with me in this period.
Do you think that this changes the role, well, not even necessarily the role, but how real estate agents are? So a lot of people would have been kind of shifting to that area where they would be selling the homes themselves, private selling, or
Hmm.
using some other means of selling their house.
Yeah.
With all of these things that are in play right now, do you think that pushes more people toward real estate agents?
It seems like it. I'm noticing, like, even for private listings, because everybody's looking for property right now, there's just no inventory. We're going everywhere we can to find it, Kijiji, whatnot. But I'm actually finding that there are less and less private sales available. And I'm not sure if it's because people are hearing the stories about how the listed homes are getting those crazy bidding wars right now, and so they're wanting to take advantage of that kind of market opportunity, or if it's just that people are more weary of having strangers that haven't been properly vetted through their own home.
Do you think COVID is driving this increase in market sales?
In some ways, for sure. Like, there's a few things I think. So when COVID first came around in mid-March, a lot of people did pull their listings off the market or just chose not to sell because they wanted to wait and see how things played out. So what we were seeing was already a decline in inventory. And then you have the interest rates dropping, which actually seemed to spur on buyer activity. And then also having to self-isolate really highlighted a lot of weaknesses in people's homes. It became a situation where now you are homeschooling your children, you need more space for that. You want a home gym, you need more space for that. You want a larger yard because it's hard to go anywhere, or even people weren't commuting anymore, right? So they're more willing to move away from work because they can work from home now. So it was a lot of things combined, but yeah, I would say the top three were that the pandemic or COVID really highlighted the weaknesses within our own home, and then also the drop in interest rates, as well as the lack of inventory from sellers pulling their listings.
I'd imagine the workload for you would just have grown so much, right? Because you're not kind of having that one and done open house in one day where everyone floods in. Not to say that that's the only thing that factors in, but just having to think of all of these separate steps that have to take place, all of these different connections that have to be made to make sure that the house is in a good place to sell, and that that buyers feel comfortable, that everybody's comfortable in the whole process.
Correct. Yeah, like what we found, typically, like you're saying, in an open house, it's actually an easy way to get a lot of traffic through a property, to see it and to kind of help the seller not have to host as many showings through the week. But now with the way our system is, we're not allowing double bookings and everything is very scheduled. So, and with there being a much more limited time to see properties, we're getting 40 to 50 showings through in a 1 week period, and just scheduling alone has actually been a challenge. There are people not even getting to see the listings prior to them selling just because they physically couldn't get through the house.
That is hard to believe. I can't even imagine that. So what do you think the next, right? So what do you think the next phase is for you guys?
For us, like, we're hoping that as things progress, that we're going to be able to have a little bit of a relaxing of the rules, and maybe allowing those open houses again, allowing some double bookings so that more people can get into the home. We're hoping to see more inventory hit the market this year, because at the rate we're going, it's just going to get so unaffordable for buyers, and then we're going to have too much of a bubble that could potentially burst further down. So I'm hoping to see more of a stable market in the next few months. I don't know if we will see that in the next few months, but hopefully toward the end of 2021, we'll see a little bit more inventory and a few less buyers on the market.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time today, Jennifer. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll take a break for a couple of minutes, but we will send you off to break with a look at one of these 360 tours that are becoming so very popular and so very necessary in this day and age.
With the Jennifer Queen Team 360-degree tours, you can take an immersive look around potential dream homes from the comfort of your living room, office, anywhere.
So let's get to keeping it realtor.
And honestly, this is what we recommend all of our clients doing. You're not hurting our feelings if you tour anything without us. So feel free to tour those open houses, completely allowed. And I finished that question in under a minute. If there's any other questions you would like us to address, please leave it in the comments below. We plan on putting a lot of content this year, so if you like what we've said today, like below and subscribe to our page. If you need any help with buying or selling real estate in Winnipeg, please feel free to reach out to me, Jennifer Queen, or anybody on my team. We're happy to help. What is our segment again? Keeping it Realtor.